Hi, everyone. I'm Doug Alsdorf, the author of Financing Your Future. This is chapter 14, and we're going to ask the question, which is better, an IRA, a 401k, or a taxable account? Recall that IRAs and 401ks are our tax-deferred accounts. We're almost done with the investing conversation, and in here we're going to talk about just where should you put all those investments that you're buying, those funds that you want to buy, what kind of account should they be held in? So we're going to have a look at that. There's pluses and minuses to taxable and tax deferred accounts, and they're kind of highlighted for us here in this table, particularly with the red and the green values. So let's have a look at a couple of the key differences. You can read the book to get more of these details. I want to focus here on just the key differences. And in red, we have something that's bad when it comes to taxes and good when it comes to taxes. In green, same thing over here with our tax deferred accounts. With the taxable accounts, generally speaking, the money that's going into that has already been taxed. Usually, what you're doing is contributing to your taxable account from your income, from your salary, and you've already experienced income taxes on that money. And then that's high income tax rates. The gains and dividends inside of the taxable account. So if you sell something and experience a gain, and of course you're going to be allocated dividends throughout the year, those are going to be taxed as well. But when you withdraw the money, it's not taxed. Let's contrast that with a tax deferred account. The money in has not been taxed. What happens is it comes straight out of your salary. They'll, of course, still subtract FICA from it. Now, no FICA fees are not, FICA is not taxed within these accounts. But before the money goes into your IRA or into your 401k, your salary has already had FICA extracted from it. However, the other income taxes have not been applied. No federal, city, or state income taxes have been applied. So the money in has not been taxed. The gains and dividends inside. You can buy and sell all you like inside of an IRA and you won't be taxed. 401ks are going to kind of limit you how much buying and selling you can do, but generally speaking, inside your IRAs, it's just like a regular brokerage account. So people tend to buy and sell inside of their IRAs. But these have not been taxed. All that buying and selling and the dividends are not taxed inside the account. But when you withdraw the money, it's taxed at an income rate. This is a very high tax rate compared to the gains and dividends here, which are being taxed at long-term gains taxes. All right, so let's put this to work to us and see how that comes together. Let's imagine, and this, by the way, the next three slides are actually not in the book, and maybe I should revise the book and put them in, but this is really interesting for you to have a look at. We're going to use the tax table spreadsheet from chapter 4. We're going to enter an income of $75,000, but this person said, no, I'm not going to contribute to my 401k or to IRAs. Their after-tax money is about $58,000, and they're close to a 23% effective tax rate. So let's just say they're at 58,000, subtract 11, and that gives them $47,000 in after-tax money. So they can invest $11,000 a year in their taxable account. Now here's person B. Same income, but they're going to invest 15,000 into their combination of 401ks and IRAs. And how much money do they have in after-tax money? About 47,000. So the same amount of money as the taxable person. They're both living on the same amount of money, but this person using their IRAs and 401ks can invest a lot more. Note that their effective tax rate is lower. So how much money can this person actually expect to have after some investing timeline? Here again, we can use Formula 4 in the investing formula spreadsheet. This is really super helpful for us to see. So here's our friend with the taxable account right there. They're going to invest $11,000 per year, and let's hope their salary grows at, say, 2% a year, or maybe even more, but they're going to contribute a growing 2% of the 11,000. So multiply 11,000 by 2%, and that's how much they submit in the next year. The overall investment is going to grow at 7%, and we've already learned that's a little conservative compared to, say, reinvesting dividends in the S&P 500 when you might get 10.5% over 35 years. So being a little conservative here, they might top out at $1.9 million after 35 years. That's actually very encouraging when you really think about it. This isn't a lot of money. It is an important amount of money, but it's an amount of money that somebody might be able to invest year after year for 35 years. Now let's look at the other person. How much better off are they with their 401k IRA contributions? Well, again, they're going to have investment growth rate of 7%, same as our taxable account person, but they're able to invest a lot more money, $16,000, as we already saw. Well, I'm sorry, they're able to invest $15,000. And the reason, so if we just back up here, just to remind ourselves, there's their $15,000 that they're investing per year. But here they're going to get an extra $1,000. That's a pretty small amount, but an extra $1,000 from their company. So they're going to have $16,000 to invest. And again, we're going to increment that 16,000, 2% per year contribution, and then grow the overall investment at 7% for 35 years. And they get to 2.7, 2.8 million, nearly $900,000 more because they were investing inside of their 401k and IRA and enjoyed those tax advantages that we saw right here, exemplified in this green right there. Now, how much was their company contribution to all this? Their company was only putting in $1,000, but still it added up. Their company was contributing about $174,000 to their overall investments. So this is our first very strong indication in this chapter that yet again, IRAs and 401ks are highly advantageous to us. So let's take a look at a couple of plots. Here we have a plot. This is from your retirement age at 65 to age 95, so 30 years. Over on the left is the value of the investments, the blue line and the green line. And over here on the right, that's how much money you're living on in your retirement. You're actually living on about $97,000. But because the taxable account, let me move this out of the way. I know you can't see it. There we go. The taxable account is green. The taxable account is green. That's using long-term taxes, which are lower rate than the income taxes that the blue line experiences. What that means is that the amount of money that is being extracted from the green line is less at 109,000, whereas more money is being extracted from the blue line. Let me get the numbers straight just a second. So 121,000 is being extracted from the blue line. In other words, both the tax deferred account and the taxable account, the person A and person B, so to speak, they're both living on the same amount of after-tax money, but we have to extract more money from the blue line because it's being taxed at a high income rate. We're going to extract less money from the green line because we're using long-term capital gains taxes to extract those monies. And we see that, in fact, in this case, if both investment accounts start at the same value, then yeah, definitely taxable account is better. The chances of them both starting at the same amount is actually pretty slim. In fact, we already saw that if we just back up, we go back to here, we see that, yeah, this person can invest a whole lot more than the taxable account person. They're investing a whole lot more money, and they're going to come up with close to $900,000 more. So let's just imagine this particular scenario where we see that both people are going to start their investing at age 30. They manage to get $50,000 that they could invest. It's just a lump sum, just as a model, as an example. Here we're going to say, well, instead of investing year after year, they're just going to do a lump sum at age 30 with $50,000. We're going to grow both of those at 10.5% a year. The taxable account grows to less than the tax deferred account. The tax deferred account grows to 200,000 more because the taxable account is experiencing taxes on its dividends. And because the person who has this green line taxable account has to pay for those dividend taxes, that's money that they have, well, to pay for taxes. Whereas the blue line person can instead invest that money that they're using to pay for taxes. So it's kind of a double betterment here when not paying for taxes and then having extra money that the green line person had. So the blue line person can invest that as well. So they come out to about $200,000 more according to the spreadsheet. And that's about what you need to have to make up the costs that we talk about between those two lines. We're going to need to have a little extra. Remember, we're going to extract more money. They're both going to live on $97,000 in after-tax money. That's this line. They're both living on the same amount, but they've got to extract more money from the blue line because of the higher taxes than the green line. And here we see with a $200,000 difference starting at around 1.5 and 1.7 million, they both end around the age of 85. What if we do two changes to this? What if instead we now retire at age 68? So we're going to extract this amount of money right there and retire at age 68. Well, now the green line grows to more than $2 million, and that's really good. That's what we've been trying to get to. And then we're going to extract this line of the $109,000 growing at 2% a year from that. We're going to end up running out of money, late 90s, mid 90s, something like that. But look how much greater the tax deferred account grew to. Look how much greater that was. And it grew to this $740,000 more because of two things. One, we retired 3 years later compared to here. We retired it instead of age 65, we're retiring at age 68. So the blue line grows to more. And we also started the blue line investment with $60,000 because during those first few years, from let's say age 23 to age 30, this person could invest more because they were investing in their tax deferred accounts. And like we already saw back here, they have more money to invest. Okay, so it's just a model, just an idea to give us the picture that, yeah, these tax deferred accounts, 401ks and IRAs, are really tax advantageous for us, and we can really grow our investments to a much greater amount in them. So, some conclusions here when thinking about IRAs and 401ks and taxable accounts. Taxable accounts, you're paying taxes upfront as you pour money into the account. But then when you extract the money, when you go to live on it, you're paying low long-term capital gains taxes when you withdraw the money. The tax deferred accounts, IRAs and 401ks, you're not paying any taxes on the money going into the account. You're not paying any taxes on it while it's in the account. But when you withdraw the money, you're paying at a high short-term income tax related rate. So money coming out of taxable account, low taxes. Money coming out of our tax deferred accounts, high taxes. Money going into taxable account, taxed. Money going into tax deferred accounts, not taxed. And that's the advantage. We get a big advantage here in these tax deferred accounts. There's also this company match that happens with only with 401ks. And that could provide you, in this simple example, with an extra $174,000. But what if instead, just to show you how much more could happen from your company match, instead of them giving you only $1,000, what if they gave you $2,500 instead of a very small percentage match, maybe a 3% match on an income? And let's say it grew at 10.5% for that time period, for 35 years. I can't even read my own slides. For 35 years. And we're going to increment the 2,500 by 2% annually. How much would you have from just the company? That's their money, not your money. It's their money that they're putting in and they're investing $910,000. This is free money. This is free money coming from your company. You should accept your 401k monies. That's what I'm really hoping you begin to realize from this conversation. This is not your money. It doesn't come out of your salary. It comes out of the company, and it's their small amount that they're providing, but yet it grows substantially over time. So tax deferred accounts are generally better than taxable accounts. I would say 401ks are fantastic. There's always some caveats on these, and I want to invite you to read the book to learn some of those caveats. This assumes tax deferred accounts accumulated more money than the taxable account at retirement. But taxable accounts, here's a really good thing about taxable accounts. So we don't want to negate them altogether. This is a very good thing about taxable accounts. And I have taxable accounts. My son will be able to inherit those taxable accounts. He'll get a step-up basis and not pay any taxes at all. That's a lot of money that he's going to be able to inherit tax-free. And it only happens in taxable accounts, not in tax-deferred accounts. All right, I hope this tax babble was a lot of help to you.